The corner, the corner, the corner. Hey, welcome. Come on into Cousin Ed's Corner. This podcast is where you will find real, authentic conversation. Organic conversation. Like you're at home with your cousin. It's about life. It's about finance. It's about spirituality. It's about love. And everything in between. I'm your host, Cousin Ed. I'm excited to bring you along on this journey to explore life. Listen, let's sit back and enjoy a wide range of topics. I have some diverse guests coming on, a wide range of spectrum of thoughts. My goal is to create a space for all of us to connect, all of us to learn each other, and all of us to communicate. It's really not about me. It's about the community as a whole. Let's enjoy this. Let's sit back. Let's think about our past. Let's move into our future. It's about the corner, the corner, the corner. So no matter how you cut it or slice it, we're all here together. I'm just here to give you a piece of my heart, my mind, my soul, and my mentals. So sit back, relax, and enjoy another episode of Cousin Ed's Corner. The corner, the corner, the corner.
What's good, people? How you doing out there? This is Destrin checking in from the Brethren Podcast. We're here with Cousin Ed, with Cousin Ed's Corner. What we wanted to let you know is, number one, we appreciate you checking in with us. We appreciate you liking, subscribing, and supporting the platform. We also wanted to let you know that this is information. This is used for informational purposes only. This is not financial advice and should not be used as such. Please consult your financial advisor should you feel the need to make an investment decision, a financial decision, or a decision that may be impactful to your family from a tax advantage standpoint. What we want to do is bring you content that is eye-opening, glaring, and also provides you the opportunity to explore, ask better questions, and be better prepared for the opportunities that await you. Again, this is Cousin Ed's Corner, and we hope that we can be of service to you. We love you. There's nothing you can do about it.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. We are back. We are back with another one. I'm just honored. I mean, I'm sitting here with another queen, and she's sitting here smiling and shaking her head, and I'm just honored to have her on. I've been following her for a while, and once again, the internet, the social media is a gift and a curse, but I found a true gem out there in this queen. Queen Nikki from Black Girl Budgets. I ain't say budget, but budget. Let me make it singular before I get some copyright infringements. But Black Girl Budget. I found her on the internet, and she was in a kitchen, and she was sitting there with a whiteboard and explaining stuff in layman's terms to the common people like us. And I found it very interesting. I thought that it would be very interesting for that to bring her on the show. And just introduce her to Cousin Ed's Corner. So Queen Nikki, my sister, welcome to Cousin Ed's Corner.
Hey, Cousin Ed, thank you so much for having me here today. I'm very excited to be with you. And I'm glad you found me on the internet, stumbled upon me, probably on Instagram. But I love talking about budgeting. I love breaking it down into layman terms. So I'm very excited to be here today.
I'm excited to have you. This is a segment that I'm doing. It's like a mixed show because you're such a queen and a sister. I do a show for when my sister wins, we all win, and you're definitely winning out there right now. But you're talking about budgeting, so I have a Financial Freedom Friday, so I don't know what show this is going to come out on. So I might put it out on Thursday in the middle of the week. So, but I appreciate you all, just being generous enough to take your time and come on Cousin Ed's Corner. So if you don't mind, telling us a little bit about yourself. I always start off, I can read bios, I can go and read press release, I can read press kits and everything else, but it's nothing like hearing it from the person, finding out who they are, how they were raised, what brought them to the point where they're at today. You know, I always joke around, I want to hear the Pampers story when I was younger in the Pampers. I don't want to hear that story, but I want to hear what, when you was a kid and what brought you to this point. So if you don't mind, introducing yourself once again to Cousin Ed's Corner and letting them know who you are.
Yeah, so my name is Nikki. My platform is called Black Girl Budget. I'm on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, all that stuff. And I talk about budgeting on a daily basis. I talk about budgeting, but I talk about it from a day-to-day perspective. And what a lot of my newest followers don't know is that I'm actually a lawyer by day. So my day job is...
Hold on. Stop the press. I didn't recognize that. I gotta put some respect on her name. You are a lawyer by day?
Yes.
Is that what the Esquire is?
Yep.
ESQ, whatever.
Yep.
Lord help us all. Congratulations. I mean, I'm even more proud of you. Congratulations.
Thank you. So yeah, see, a lot of people don't know that I'm actually a lawyer. And budgeting, what's crazy is budgeting does play a role in some of my cases, but we'll talk about it another time. But I realized when I first became a lawyer, I was like, dang, I was making $43,000 a year, which is not the kind of lawyer salary that you think of at all. But I was working for the state, great benefits. I was getting paid once a month. And that first month, I very quickly realized, girl, you don't have a choice but to budget. Like, you got to pull it together. So I got my first job right out of law school, and I was like, okay, I got to start budgeting because I had credit cards, no emergency fund. I was living with my parents, and great environment, love my parents, but I definitely wanted to have my own place. So what kind of kicked in really quick was all the information and the lessons my parents had taught me as a child. And the first one was saving money. And I know you mentioned the story about diapers. I'm going to tell y'all this real quick. One of my oldest memories from being a kid is saving money. When I was like 6, maybe 5 or 6, didn't have a bank account, right? So I would save money under my mattress. And as a kid, I would forget that there was money under my mattress. So one day my mom happens to be, helping me clean up. She flips the mattress and like $200 comes falling out from under the mattress. And I was like, hey, I've been looking for that. She's like, where did you get this from? So, even as a kid, I was like saving and not really consciously thinking like, I'm going to save and be a millionaire one day, but just knowing that my parents said, don't spend all your money. So now those ideas have evolved and developed into investing ideas and saving and high yield savings accounts and stuff like that. But I realized once I started saving, I was able to pay off credit cards, buy a car, buy a house. I started getting a lot of friends and family asking me like, girl, we know how much money you make. So what you mean you bought a house and what you mean you bought a car? And that's when I realized that a lot of people were not actively budgeting or they weren't familiar with budgeting. And so that's when I started answering questions and boom, Black Girl Budget was born. And I made it a safe space so that Black women could come and ask questions about budgeting, no matter how stupid they thought it was or how simple the answer might be. You come, you ask a question, you get an answer. So we've been rocking ever since 2016, I think.
2016, man. Mm-hmm. But congratulations on many fronts. I just learned a lot more about you.
Thank you.
43K as a lawyer.
Yes.
And you still had the law school
student loans.
Yeah, student loans to pay.
For sure. Over $100,000. And what's crazy is my student loans were over $100,000. And I had classmates and friends whose student loans were over $300,000. So what I thought was a big deal was nothing compared to some, but it's still a lot of money.
Amazing. So you say you're still a lawyer by day. We have a whole nother discussion about that. I want to stay on topic.
Yeah.
We can easily talk about that. But you said 2016, so you started helping friends and family and you went into starting your own community, your own network, and you also have a podcast. When did that start?
Yeah. I want to say the podcast probably started. So I'm going to say it started in 2019, but then I took a long break because editing was really hard. Like in the beginning, it was really hard to edit podcasts. So I was like, I don't have the skills or the time for this. I'm going to take a break until I can figure it out. And then around 2020, maybe 21 is when I came back. I started learning how to do the podcast better, how to edit episodes. And then I started getting guests onto the podcast. So the podcast is really like an extended version of anything you might see in the 90 seconds that I post on Instagram or TikTok. It's going to be much more in depth. We might even talk about news stories. Like, we'll talk about all kinds of stuff in the podcast. And I love it because it has an international audience. There's literally someone listening to the Black Girl Budget podcast from every single continent in the world. So I love the podcast, and it's got some great episodes on there.
I'm subscribed, so you
Nice.
have a listener. You have a listener right here. So I definitely follow you, and like I said, I'm just honored to have you. Honored to have you connected to me, connected to Cousin Ed's Corner. The keys are under the mat. The brown is under the cabinet. The clear is above the cabinet next to the red cups. Okay, so you're
Gotcha.
welcome back anytime to come to Cousin Ed's Corner. But let's go ahead and dive in. This is something that's not taught in our community, right? Your mother, your parents, may give you some insight, and you may be one of the exceptions. But for the majority of us, it's not taught in our community. Why do you find that may be prevalent?
You know what's crazy is when I talk about budgeting, and I do speaking engagements, pretty regularly. I would say every couple of months I'll do some. Whenever I talk about budgeting, I kid you not, at least one person in the audience who always says they were taught that budgeting was for poor people. And so I've kind of been running into this idea of, are we not teaching our children about budgeting? Because then to us, that implies that we are in fact poor or low income. But the complete opposite is true, right? Even wealthy people budget, and they might not be going around saying, hey, I budget, but they're definitely keeping track of their money. They know how much is coming in and they know how much is going out, and they're maintaining what's going out. So I think sometimes there's a stigma around budgeting, and if we can't get past that stigma, if it's like budgeting is bad, then we won't teach our children what it really means to budget. And it's really the most beneficial thing you can do for your money.
Well, let's back up. You just hit on something. What is budgeting? Because some people may not even know what it is. So let's back up and define what budgeting is.
Yeah, so budgeting in its simple form is making sure that you understand the amount of money that you make. And I'm going to explain it a little bit instead of giving a solid definition first, but it's understanding how much money you make, because I have clients who don't know the answer to that. Understanding how much money you make every single month, right? And then understanding how much your expenses are every single month. Are your expenses more or less than your income? That's the main question. If it's less, okay, then you're doing good already. If it's more, then you either need to increase your income or decrease your expenses. So really, budgeting is tracking your income and your expenses and incorporating your goals so that you can reach whatever financial goals you have. That's really the definition that I try to give people, is tracking what's coming in, what's going out, incorporate your goals into that money.
One thing I found, and you look a lot younger than I do. So we used to have these bank books that you go in the bank and they had to stamp your bank book, and you kept up with your bank book that way, and you had a checkbook and you kept up with a checkbook that way. And now we went to everything online where you can download and put into these apps. But I still don't see people using these utilities or these tools to budget or to keep up with their money. Like you said, if you ask somebody how much they actually make for one, or how much they have in their account, they have no idea.
Yeah, it's crazy. And so my parents had the whole, checkbook. My mom used to sit us down while she was writing stuff out and had everything spread out. So I know, I can visualize exactly what you said just now. But I think that handwriting is the most beautiful thing you can do when it comes to your finances, because you are writing it down. It's coming out of your mind. You get a visual representation, and that hand motion is actually really helping you. So you're writing it down, and it's going to stick a little easier, right? I know a lot of people really enjoy the apps. They really enjoy Excel. And I always say, use what works best for you, but use something. So even I know people who are like, I'm not using the apps. They tracking my money. It's not going to happen. That's fine. Don't use the apps, but then you have to use something. Like, you can't just throw your hands up and say, I'm not going to use any of it, because you still need to keep up with your money anyway. So I would tell people, if you don't do the apps, if you don't do Excel, pen and paper is going to be your best friend. And that's how I budget. Every month I physically write down my income, my expenses, what's left over, which goals are we hitting, and then I close my Black Girl Budget notebooks, and I'm done until next week. So write it down if you don't want to use an app.
Well, that was a great segue, great plug. Black Girl Budget Notebook. Go ahead and tell us more about that.
So we actually sold out, but I had hard copy notebooks that you could write your own budget in, because I had a lot of people who were like, I'm just not going to use the apps. Like you mentioned earlier, you know, there are tools and resources out there. Some people just prefer that pen and paper. So we have Black Girl Budget notebooks. They've been sold out for a while, but I think we might get them back this summer. Just be on the lookout on Black Girl Budget social media for that.
And if not, I mean, it's a great thing that they did sell out the first round and second round. But if not, there's pen and paper, and you can actually reach out to Queen Nikki on her website, and she will help you with the pen and paper or any of the apps out there. I personally use Mint. I have Quicken for business. I have QuickBooks for business also. I use all of them. Matter of fact, I write stuff down because you can't, I mean, like I forgot who said it. You have lawyers checking lawyers. I got to check behind myself 3 and 4 times to make sure what's going on.
Yeah.
So,
and I mean, there are, so even for the people now, for people who actively want to use an app, there are so many apps out there that can really benefit you. You just got to do your research. Like Mint has really good reviews. I think You Need a Budget. It's also got really you can literally research like top 5 budgeting apps. They'll pop up, and then select the one that works for you. If you don't like it anymore, try a new one. But if you want to use a app or some kind of tool, use it. Just whatever you do, don't just say I'm not going to budget whatsoever.
now, most people think that budgeting is a hard task. How much time do you put a week into your budgeting?
A week? Depending on okay, I'm gonna be honest with y'all. So sometimes I get a little excited about whatever goal I'm hitting that month. So like, if we're about to hit another $1,000, $10,000 goal or whatever, I might stare at my budget for an extra few minutes. I'm not gonna lie, but most times it might just be like 5 minutes a week, honestly.
Let me jump in there because we didn't tackle goals. So part of budgeting is having goals. So you want to talk about that?
Yeah. So what I always tell people is budgeting is tracking what comes in, what goes out, and then incorporating your goals into that. Now, of course, the question is, Nikki, how do I incorporate my goals into my budget? And that's when I talk about leftover money. So if you go to my Instagram, you will see where I talk about budget reviews. The first thing I'm going to ask my client is, how much money do you make? They say $4,000 a month. Okay, let's talk about your expenses. How much do your expenses total? $3,500 a month. That gives you leftover money of $500 a month. That $500 a month is what you're going to use to reach whatever goals you have, whether it's saving, investing, paying down debt, saving money for your kids, giving money to your parents, whatever that goal is, that leftover money is what is going to help you. So it's so important that you know what's coming in versus what's going out. And then that difference, that is going to tell you where you get to hit those goals. If it's in a month, 2 months, or a year, that leftover money is going to be really important.
Is that part of what you also teach about setting the goal and setting a time frame on when you should hit it?
Absolutely. So I do budget reviews where people will send their budgets to me. I'll review it, and then I'll let them know, based on your income and expenses and your goals, here is when you could expect to realistically hit those goals. So for example, I just did a budget review last night, actually, and this particular client is actually living above their means. So I'm like, okay, right now you're living above your means. You have a deficit of like $800 a month. You will never hit any of your goals. In fact, you are more likely to increase the amount of debt you have versus paying it off. But if we increase your income by $1,500 a month, then you realistically, from June all the way until December, she could pay off a debt, one line of credit every single month. And by the end of the year, she would have $8,000 of debt paid off. So that leftover money, I'm always going to tell you, this is how much money you need to hit these goals, but also based on whatever you have right now, you can hit this goal to pay off your car in a year or 2 years, or you can pay off this credit card in 6 months or 4 months. But yeah, I'm always going to tell you, when you should reasonably expect to pay off your debt. And I'm going to show you how to do that. I have a few videos on Instagram and TikTok where I'll show you how to figure out how long it'll take you to pay off the debts.
Now, would you also advise reducing some of my debt? So far, not paying it off, but so far as my phone bill, I got the highest internet service, and I got HBO Max, and I got Disney Plus, and I got all this stuff. Do you also advise cutting down on some of those?
Absolutely. One of my clients actually, so when people send their information, people are so slick. They'll just be like, subscriptions. They'll make that a line item in their budget, and it just says subscriptions $250. And I will always email them back and say, list out every single subscription that you have. And like clockwork, they will list out $250. This particular client listed out $250 of straight subscriptions. And I went through all of them, and I was like, I know you don't use this. You have no idea what this is. And we went through, I think we cut about $125 of subscriptions. So I'm always going to tell clients and people in general, if you're not using it, stop letting these companies get your money. There was one subscription, it was like $5.29. And they're like, oh, it's not that much money. I mean, it doesn't really matter. It does matter. Even if it's not a lot of money, you guys, remember, it's your money. That's the point. It's your money. So if Cousin Ed says it's $5, that's no big deal. And then Nikki says it's $5, that's no big deal. And there's something like that $5 is adding up for that company. Now that company just every month is getting random $5. And it's not a lot to us, but over time, it's going to start to add up. But it's just your money, and you shouldn't be giving it away to these companies.
Well, my question to anyone is, if you stepped out of your car and saw $5, would you step over it?
Hello. There you go. That's a perfect way to say it. That's the perfect way to say it.
You're giving it away. You're just stepping over it, giving it away. So you would never give away $5. So why would you let a company just take it? So you can cancel a lot of these subscriptions out there.
Yeah.
So also, you talked about getting more income. So what are some ways you suggest increasing their income?
So the easiest ways that I've seen people increase their income immediately is like DoorDash, Uber Eats, and Uber. I always tell people to be careful with those because it is a lot of wear and tear on your vehicle. So you should be accommodating for that. But it seems to be the quickest. Now, if you're okay with that kind of, moving around, driving around and stuff, that's a great way to start. My other recommendations for increasing income is to always start where you work. Can you negotiate a salary increase at your current job? Because you're already doing the job. You're already there. You have to have increased your skill level over the course of time that you're there. So go to your boss and say, hey, over the last 6 months, I've increased sales, or I've trained 6 new people, or whatever the thing is that you've been doing. I would like to get an increase of $10,000. And your boss might look at you and say, no. Your boss might look at you and say, we can do 5, not 10. So start at your job, ask for a salary increase. So that way you don't have the time constraint of a second job or a side hustle. You just go into work like you normally do, but you're getting paid a little bit more. If that's not an option, there are plenty of people who are looking for other places to work. You could also get a job and negotiate a higher salary at a new job. Now, of course, that's not feasible for everybody, but it's always an option for some of us who are already looking to transition into a new career. So start with your job. If you're looking to transition into a new career, make sure you negotiate your salary. Don't just accept the first thing that they throw at you. And then if nothing else, you can always start a side business. There's being a virtual assistant, dog sitting. You can make a lot of money, babysitting. Like, the amount of side hustles out there are endless, but in this virtual space, there are so many opportunities for you to make money without leaving your house. Just go on Pinterest. I guarantee you, Pinterest will find you like a page of 150 things to do from your living room.
Excellent. So you talked about somebody sending their budget in. Can you tell, since you started in 2016, what is some of the best success stories that you've seen from some of your clients?
Oh man, so I just started doing budget reviews this year. The best success story that I've seen thus far is and she's like halfway through her budget that I gave her. Originally, I told this client, because she wanted to go on like a trip to Carnival in Trinidad in like February 2024, and she wanted to pay off a credit card and save her emergency fund.
You saw me perk my ears up. I'm ready to go. Tell me the budget I need to do. Tell me the budget.
So she sends me those are her three goals: emergency fund, pay off a debt, and go to Trinidad. I look at her budget. I hit her back. I'm like, realistically, this is not going to happen for you. It can, right? I was like, it can, but you're either going to go to Trinidad or pay off the credit card. But you will not do both of them. So I gave her a recommendation. I'm like, listen, you could do this, but you would need to increase your income by like $1,000 a month. I think I said $500 something a month. And like the next week, I guess she thought about it. She emailed me back. She's like, listen, I just started DoorDashing or Ubering or something, and I'm going to bring in an extra $1,200 a month. Can you redo my budget? Because I'm going to Trinidad. Like, it's not going to change. So I redid her budget free of charge, and she's been consistently bringing in that $1,200. And not only will she pay off her credit card by October, she will have all of her money for Trinidad saved up and ready to go by the end of the year. So she won't be saving in January. She won't be saving in February. Like, she's going to go into the new year debt-free with an emergency fund and ready to party in Trinidad. And she's got a budget for her trip to Trinidad. So she's been working on this for about, I think, 3 months now. So she's been doing great so far. And I love that she said, I'm not willing to compromise my trip, but I am willing to do the work that needs to be done to go on the trip. And sometimes I'll get clients who are just like, I'm not going to compromise, but I'm also not going to work hard to make this happen. So I love her story. I can't wait for her to send me pictures when she goes to Trinidad next year.
You mean for us to send you pictures? Because I'm going.
Yeah. Send me pictures. Let me know how that budget looking over there.
So another quick question. So in that scenario, she's going on a trip, and I try to balance when I say things, because I might be on the frugal or the other extreme side. And I know you have to have some leisure. What about the savings?
Yeah. So I always tell people to start with their savings or emergency fund first. So If someone says, I don't have any money in my savings or emergency fund, I don't care where you want to go next year. I don't care what Christmas gift you thought you was going to buy. I don't care what you was doing for Rosh Hashanah. Like, you're not doing anything until you get some money in this emergency fund or this savings account, because emergencies are just that. They're unexpected expenses. If you don't pay for them, they will alter your lifestyle financially, right? So I always tell people you need at least $500. But if you plan to be traveling and going out of the country, you need to have at least $1,000. Like, that's bare minimum. But I always start people off with their emergency fund, and we got to get that up first. Once you get some money in your emergency fund, then we can start to talk about, you want to go on a trip, you want to spend more money, but we always going to start at the emergency fund.
Okay, cousin Ed coming back, I got the savings now. What about the investing? Because I don't want to travel. Why would I go spend money somewhere and I don't have any money that's making money for me? So what about the investing?
Yeah. So a lot of people will ask me, what should I invest in? And of course, I will never tell people what to invest in. I mean, you even have the disclaimer at the beginning of your episode. So I never tell people what to invest in, but what I will tell them is you need to incorporate your investment goals into your budget the same way you would paying off that credit card. So again, with that leftover money, if your goal is to max out your Roth IRA, right? Mm-hmm. $6,500. So can you afford $500 a month to go into your Roth? Maybe not. So then you're not going to max it out this year, but I'm not going to get into the logistics of, rolling it into the next year and then all that. But you know that if you can only afford $250 or $300 a month, you're not going to max it out, but at least you're investing something. And even if it's not your Roth, maybe you just have like a general investment account that you're investing in, right? Whatever the goal is that you have, set the goal and then make sure that your budget can accommodate that goal. If it can't, then just adjust the goal. So if you're like, realistically, I can only invest $50 a month right now until I get back on my feet. Invest it, because like you mentioned, you want to have your money that works for you, and it's going to work for you over a long period of time. So if you start investing today versus, I'm going to just wait until 3 years down the road, then I'll start investing. well, now you've missed 3 years of your money actively working and growing for you, right? So start investing as early as you possibly can. Make it a line item in your budget, depending on what you can afford, and set the goal and reach for that goal every single month.
I think you just hit it on the head. I think we can wrap it up. We can bury it right there. You killed it. So
Thank you.
I loved having you on the show. I want to bring you back. We can go all day about this because I love it. I love budgeting. I love finance. I love just helping our community, reach goals that we don't even know anything about. I mean, no one taught us this. There was no classes in school. Home ec, but it wasn't ever taught like this. So I love what you're doing. I appreciate you. I will keep continuing to follow you and support you any way possible. If you need me for anything, I'm always here. Please, if you don't mind, if you have any closing words for Cousin Ed's Corner and anyone listening.
Yeah. So first, Cousin Ed, thank you so much for having me on the show. I had a great time. Definitely feel free to invite me back. For anyone who's listening, if you are overwhelmed by your finances, if you're scared to start budgeting, if you just have no idea where to start, I always tell people, and I'm biased, but this is true. I always tell people start at Black Girl Budget on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, wherever, because the information I give is free on social media, right? But it's also going to be tangible tips that you can use to start your budgeting journey. Budgeting is not hard. It doesn't need to be scary or overwhelming. It should really help you, focus on what do I want? Where am I right now? And how can I get myself to that ultimate goal? So whether that's traveling, investing, I have a client who's about to have a baby and, their goal was, I want to prepare for that. So just remember that budgeting shouldn't be something that feels restrictive, and it shouldn't be something that makes you more upset about your finances than you may already be. It really should help you create a strategy and a plan. And if you feel like you can't do that, now I am going to plug myself. If you feel like you can't create your own strategy, that's where I come in, and I will review your budget and create one for you that works best for your income and your goals. So guys, feel free to follow me on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all that. It is at Black Girl Budget.
You heard it from her mouth. She's definitely a queen. She's definitely out here doing positive things, and it's free. I mean, why not get the free information? You watch World Star, you watch all the Kardashian stuff. Come on, please go learn something. Mm-hmm. I'm there. But it's your boy Cousin Ed. 762-333-2032. 762-333-2032. Leave her a text message. I'll definitely forward the text message or read them on the show. You can go to cousinedscorner.com, cousinedscorner.com. Across the top of the page, leave a voicemail. I will forward all voicemails to her and play them on the next show when she comes back. I'm putting in the atmosphere. When she comes back, I'll play it on the next show. So definitely hit her up. Queen, thank you very much. I look forward to having you again. Like I said, the keys is under the mat. You're welcome anytime. If you ever, whenever you can call me anytime and say you want to do something so we can do something. It's your boy, Cousin Ed. Yeah, you're welcome. It's your boy, Cousin Ed. I love each and every one of y'all. There's nothing you can do about it. Have a great one. Peace. Thank you for listening to Cousin Ed's